The galaxy was full of noise, but on that day, silence spread faster than light. At the grand summit on the neutral world of Kalor Prime, leaders from every empire stood under the shining crystal dome. It was supposed to be a moment of peace, a gathering to stop future wars. For the first time in history, humanity's leader was invited to sit at the central table, shoulder to shoulder with the oldest races of the stars. Cameras recorded every smile, every handshake, every false word of unity. But hidden inside that hall was a single shadow waiting for its chance. When Earth's leader rose to speak, the dome echoed with his voice, calm but strong. He spoke of unity, of trade, of survival, of a galaxy where humans and aliens could stand as equals. Some nodded, some scoffed, some whispered behind their teeth. But then, in the middle of that speech, the shadow moved. A blade of light appeared, faster than the eye could follow. It cut through air, through shield, through flesh, and in front of billions watching across the stars, Earth's leader fell. The silence was complete. No words, no screams, only the sound of a body hitting the floor. For a heartbeat, the galaxy stood frozen. Then chaos exploded. Guards rushed. Alarms screamed. Ships in orbit powered weapons. But the assassin was already gone, vanishing into the crowd like smoke. The alien empires thought it was finished. They believed humans would break. They believed the young race would mourn, argue, and sink into weakness. But they did not know humans. They did not know the fire that lived under Earth's skin. Back on Earth, the news struck like thunder. Every city fell into mourning. Every screen showed the image of their fallen leader. Children cried. Soldiers clenched fists. Families lit candles. And across the solar system, a whisper rose. This was not politics, this was murder, and murder demands justice. On Mars, hidden deep under red rock, the Human War Council gathered. 7 men and women, each carrying the weight of their colonies. They looked at the broadcast again and again. They studied the strike, the weapon, the escape. It was clear, this was no lone assassin. This was planned, funded, and blessed by one of the great empires. And if the galaxy wanted to test humanity's will, they were about to learn. In the dark chambers of the council, a command was spoken. It was a command never used before, sealed in history for only the worst day. Omega Protocol. The order was short, cold, and final. Every hidden fleet, every black site weapon, every secret project humanity had buried for decades was awakened. Silent codes flew across the void, activating warships drifting in forgotten orbits. Across the asteroid belts, engineers opened vaults sealed with fire. Soldiers who had lived in shadow stepped forward, ready for the day promised long ago. Meanwhile, the alien empires celebrated in whispers. Some laughed that humans would never dare strike back. Some poured wine, saying the problem of Earth was solved before it began. But in their hearts, a seed of fear grew, because even with their power, their spies, their networks, none of them could see what humanity was doing. Their sensors showed nothing. Their data was empty. Their skies were clear. It was as if Earth had fallen silent, and silence was always dangerous. On a lonely station at the edge of the galaxy, an alien officer read a final report from his scouts. Human ships gone, the report said. The officer laughed nervously. How can fleets vanish? How can millions of tons of steel disappear without a trace? He would not laugh for long. For deep in the void, engines older than their empire were awakening. The ghost fleet, humanity's hidden blade, was rising. Back on Earth, a single message was prepared. It was not sent to allies, it was not sent to enemies, it was sent to the galaxy itself.
A simple warning, broadcast in 1,000 tongues. You killed our leader. Now you will see what humanity truly is. Billions of aliens across 100 worlds watched the message. Some dismissed it, calling it the empty rage of a young race. Others shivered, remembering stories of Earth's history, of wars that had burned continents, but none of them understood the truth. This was not war. This was vengeance. And vengeance was already moving through the stars, as Kalor Prime cleaned the blood from its marble floors. The assassins celebrated in shadow. They believed the galaxy would forget. They believed humans would bow. But somewhere in the cold black of space, a human warship opened its eyes, its cannons hummed, its shields flared, its crew stood ready. The hunt had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn what it meant to spill human blood. The galaxy thought humanity would stay quiet, but deep under the red dust of Mars, silence was only a mask. Inside a chamber carved from stone and steel, the Human War Council sat in darkness, 7 figures, faces shadowed, eyes burning with fury, on the wall before them, the final image of their fallen leader replayed again and again, the strike, the collapse, the blood on the floor of Kalar Prime. Each time the image looped, the silence in the room grew heavier. General Marcus Kane slammed his fist against the table, the echo rolling like thunder. This was no lone killer, he growled, his voice shaking the air. They used weapons too rare, too expensive, too precise. This was state power, not a rogue hand. Beside him, Admiral Celine Ward whispered, her voice like ice. They wanted to humiliate us, to remind us humans are new, fragile, unworthy, but now they will taste what we hid for centuries. The council turned, eyes on her, for she spoke the truth they all felt. For decades, humanity had smiled in galactic halls, pretending weakness, pretending smallness. They traded, they signed peace papers, they joined councils with bowed heads, but in secret, they built. They remembered Earth's history, the wars that had forged them, the empires that had fallen before them, and they prepared for the day the galaxy would try to break them. The council's leader, an old man with scars across his face, stood. He spoke no words at first, only placed his hand on a hidden console. The lights dimmed, the table lit with red symbols. Omega Protocol was already spreading through human space. Every secret fleet, every black project, every sleeping weapon was awake. The galaxy did not know, but humanity was already at war. On Titan, engineers opened vaults sealed for 50 years. Inside lay rail cannons longer than skyscrapers, powered by fusion hearts. On Luna, the moon shook as hidden hangars opened, revealing ships no alien had ever seen. Stealth hulls, black as shadow, bristling with weapons that bent physics itself. On Earth's oceans, submarines older than nations rose, carrying missiles designed to pierce planetary shields. And in the void between stars, the ghost fleet stirred, silent giants drifting until the signal reached them. Now their crews woke, hungry for vengeance, but still, there was mystery. Who gave the order? Who pulled the strings? Who sent the blade into Earth's leader? The council demanded answers, and so they turned to their hidden watchers, for humanity had spies too, spies no alien ever suspected. Miners who were not miners, traitors who were not traitors. Humans had lived among the stars, listening, recording, waiting, and now their secrets came back to Mars. Reports arrived in fragments, carried by encrypted couriers. A witness saw alien nobles in a private meeting days before the summit, a weapon traced to an empire known for its arrogance, and whispers, always whispers, that the assassination was meant to be a warning, but instead, it had become a death sentence for those who ordered it. The council argued long into the night. Some demanded open war, fleets burning.
The galaxy prided itself on its sensors, its scanners, its endless grids of satellites that mapped every star. But in the black between suns where silence lived, something older than their arrogance was waking. The ghost fleet, humanity's hidden blade, began to stir. For decades, alien intelligence mocked the stories. They called it myth, rumor, a bedtime tale for human children. A fleet that hides in shadows, ships that vanish from scanners, lies, nothing more, they laughed. But the truth drifted in cold silence, waiting, hidden by technologies no alien understood, shielded by codes carved into physics itself. Thousands of human warships slept in dead zones of space, where no empire dared to look. And now, awakened by Omega Protocol, their engines hummed like the growl of predators ready to hunt. On board the flagship Iron Dawn, Captain Elias Drake stood at the command deck, his eyes fixed on the void ahead. "We move in silence," he said, his voice low but sharp. "Every strike must be clean, no survivors, no witnesses, only whispers." The crew answered in unison, their faces grim but unshaken. They all knew why they were here. They all saw the assassination. They all carried the same fire. The ghost fleet spread like smoke across the stars. One ship entered a convoy lane, and within minutes, 30 alien freighters were gone. No distress calls, no wreckage, only cold silence. Another squadron appeared above an outpost thought secure. By the time the alarms rang, the base was ash, its remains burning in the void. And then, before reinforcements could arrive, the humans vanished, leaving nothing but fear. Rumors began to spread in alien navies. Captains whispered of shadows slipping past shields, of warships that appeared without warning and killed without mercy. Some said human ships bent light. Others said they rode gravity itself. None of them had proof. None of them survived. And with every disappearance, fear grew heavier. Back on Mars, the Human War Council read the reports in silence. Each line was a reminder. Vengeance was moving, but General Kane shook his head. Fear is not enough, he growled. They must feel it, not just hear of it. Admiral Ward leaned forward, her eyes cold. Then let them see fire. Let us strike where they believe themselves untouchable. And so the order was given. The Ghost Fleet would reveal itself, not fully, but enough to carve the message into the galaxy's bones. Their target was an alien fortress world, Orbital Command Station Vera. It was considered untouchable, defended by fleets armed with weapons that had stood for centuries. No one dared approach it. No one even considered it possible to attack, but the humans did. On the night of Vera's longest festival, when the planet below burned bright with lights and song, the shadows came. Dozens of human warships emerged from the void, their black hulls reflecting no star. Within seconds, orbital defenses screamed alarms, cannons fired into darkness, but the Ghost Fleet did not answer with sound, only with fire. Rail cannons tore through battle stations, stealth drones cut power grids, the sky above Vera turned red, and by the time the defenders realized what struck them, the humans were already gone. In their place, burned into the surface of the planet's moon, was a single mark, the symbol of Earth, glowing in plasma fire. The galaxy trembled. If humanity could strike Vera, nowhere was safe. No fortress, no fleet, no empire could hide from the Ghost Fleet, and fear turned into panic. But vengeance was not done. Across 3 sectors, alien patrol fleets vanished, their signals ending mid-scream. Trade networks collapsed as entire shipping routes went dark. Worlds starved, stations begged for supplies, and still, every sensor showed nothing. Every search found nothing. It was as if ghosts had truly risen. Alien leaders gathered in secret chambers. Some demanded total war. Others begged for negotiations, but the truth was written in their eyes. They were afraid, and fear was already breaking them. On Iron Dawn, Captain Drake received a transmission. Not from Mars, not from Earth, but from the crew of a fallen alien vessel. Their message hacked into human channels before their ship was silenced. It was a plea, broken by static. Stop. We surrender. Drake closed his eyes, but his voice was steel when he answered, No, not yet. Back on Mars, the Council revealed the truth. The assassin's blade came from the Empire of Xenar, one of the oldest and most arrogant powers in the galaxy. They had believed killing Earth's leader would end the human rise. Now their name would become ash. The part ends with a chilling scene. On the edge of Xenar space, a lone alien station picked up a hacked broadcast. The voice was human, sharp, and merciless. For every drop of human blood, 100 of yours will fall. Then the screen went dark, and silence swallowed the stars. The galaxy whispered of the Ghost Fleet. But whispers were not enough for humanity. Fear was spreading, yes, but fear fades, and the Council on Mars knew the galaxy needed something louder, something final. They chose a target not in shadow, not in secrecy, but in the brightest center of alien pride. The Empire of Xenar, arrogant and ancient, believed itself untouchable. Its jewel was Arcanus Prime, a fortress world ringed with battle stations and fleets larger than entire nations. For centuries, no one dared raise a hand against it. No one even imagined such madness. But for humans, it was perfect. Destroying Arcanus Prime would be more than vengeance. It would be a message carved into the bones of the galaxy. On the Iron Dawn, Captain Elias Drake stared at the star maps. His crew waited silent, knowing what was at stake. Finally, he spoke, his voice like iron. We strike at day, not their dawn, ours, and the galaxy will remember it forever. The fleet prepared, black ships drifting into alignment, stealth drones slipping ahead like shadows. Every pilot, every soldier carried the same thought. This was for Earth's fallen leader. This was for the blood spilled at Kalor Prime. When the attack began, Arcanus Prime was celebrating. Thousands filled the sky towers, fireworks lit the air, and songs echoed across the great cities. It was on that night of peace that vengeance arrived. The sky tore open as the Ghost Fleet dropped from hidden folds of space. One moment the stars were clear, the next they were filled with black steel and fire. Xanar's defenses roared awake, fleets scrambled, cannons fired, but it was already too late. The first human salvo hit the outer ring, tearing through stations that had stood for centuries. Explosions painted the void. Entire squadrons vanished in fire. Arcanus Prime shook as shockwaves rippled through its orbit. Panic spread below as citizens looked to the sky and saw it burn. The defenders fought bravely, but nothing they did mattered. Human rail cannons split their capital ships like paper. Drones sliced through their shields like knives. Their most advanced weapons couldn't even lock onto the Ghost Fleet. It was as if the humans were striking from the shadows of death itself, and every strike carried rage sharpened into precision. In less than an hour, the great fortress world was crippled, its fleet scattered, its defenses shattered, but humanity was not finished. Captain Drake gave the final order: leave them something they will never forget. From orbit, plasma lances carved into the moon of Arcanus Prime, not random destruction, but a deliberate mark. The symbol of Earth burned bright, so massive it could be seen from the planet's surface. The people of Arcanus looked up in horror, knowing the ETHTs. Ening, Earth was here, and Earth would not be stopped. Back on Mars, the Council watched the feat in silence. Some smiled grimly, others clenched fists. Admiral Celine Ward whispered, "Now they will understand, this is not war, this is justice." But General Kane shook his head, his voice a growl. "No, this is only the beginning." Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Every empire, every station, every citizen saw the burning symbol on Arcanus's moon. Some cheered in secret, glad to see the arrogant Xanar struck down. Others trembled, realizing that if humans could strike Arcanus, then nowhere was safe. The balance of power had shattered, and the galaxy was no longer the same. In the capital halls of Xanar, their emperor raged. He screamed at his generals, demanded vengeance, demanded the humans be crushed, but his fleets were broken, his stations gone, his people terrified. For the first time in centuries, the empire of Xanar tasted fear, and still the Ghost Fleet moved on. Even as Xanar licked its wounds, more convoys burned, more outposts vanished, worlds starved, trade routes collapsed, and chaos spread. The galaxy began to whisper a new truth. Humanity was not a young race anymore. Humanity was the storm. On the Iron Dawn, Captain Drake stood before his crew, his voice steady, his eyes hard. "Arcanus was the first," he said, "but not the last. The galaxy killed our leader, and now it will feel the cost of that mistake." The part closes on a chilling scene. In a ruined Xanar station, a surviving officer huddled over a broken console. The static cleared for one moment, and a human message came through. "Vengeance has only begun." Then the screen went black, leaving only silence. The galaxy had seen fear before, but never like this. When Arcanus Prime burned, every empire realized the truth. Humanity was not only alive, it was unstoppable. The assassination meant to break them had done the opposite. It had awakened a storm, and now that storm was spite. Reading on alien trade routes, convoys vanished. Entire fleets returned as wreckage. Their captains never answering their last calls. Worlds rich with resources suddenly went silent. Their orbiting defenses reduced to ash, and each time when investigators searched, they found the same mark burned into rock, metal, or ice. The symbol of Earth carved in fire. The galaxy whispered new names for the Ghost Fleet. Some called it the Shadow Armada. Others named it the Hand of Vengeance. But every tongue agreed on one word: unstoppable. Fear crawled through the highest courts and the lowest slums, and empires once proud now asked the same question: who will be next? Back on Mars, the Human War Council sat in silence. They no longer argued if humanity should strike. The strikes were already rewriting the galaxy. Now they debated how far to go. General Kane demanded extermination, his voice hard as iron. "Xanar killed our leader. They wanted us broken. Now they will be broken instead. Burn their fleets, crush their people, leave nothing but ruins." Admiral Ward leaned forward, calm but sharper than steel. "Revenge is easy, but survival is harder. If we destroy too much, the galaxy will unite against us. If we are precise, the galaxy will destroy itself." The council listened, torn between fury and calculation. Finally, the old scarred man at the head of the table spoke. Both paths are war, but one path ends with us alone. The other ends with the galaxy in pieces. Let us choose the second. And so, a new strategy was born. The Ghost Fleet would not only strike at Xenar, it would strike their allies, their trade, their secrets. It would shatter trust, turn empires against each other, and leave humanity as the only power standing. The results came quickly. In the Empire of Jorak, merchants accused the Xenar of failing to protect convoys. In the Federation of Telu, and senators demanded to cut ties with Xenar before they too were destroyed. On dozens of worlds, riots broke out, citizens screaming that their leaders had brought human wrath upon them. The alliances that once seemed unbreakable began to crack. Suspicion grew sharper than any blade. Meanwhile, the assassins themselves, those who struck down Earth's leader, grew restless. They had been promised protection, power, safety, but one by one, their hiding places burned. In the shadow markets of Corinne, the first assassin was found dead, his body marked with Earth's symbol. On a luxury ship above Valora, another vanished, his screams echoing through the ship's comms before silence claimed him. The hunters had become prey, and the galaxy knew it. Still, Xenar's emperor refused to bend. He gathered his remaining generals, demanding they rebuild. "We are the oldest, the strongest. Humans cannot erase us," he shouted. But in his eyes, his council saw doubt, and in their silence they knew the empire was crumbling. On the Iron Dawn, Captain Drake received new orders. The Ghost Fleet was to strike the heart of Xenar's empire, their capital defenses. It would not be the final blow, but it would tear away the last illusion of their strength. Drake's crew prepared, silent but determined. Each soldier carried the same fire, the same memory of Kalor Prime, and each knew this strike would turn the tide forever. The attack came swift and merciless. Xenar's capital ring, once shining with power, fell in minutes. Dockyards exploded. Warships were ripped apart before they even launched. Billions on the capital world looked to the sky and saw their guardians burn. And above them, once more, the symbol of Earth burned bright, carved into space itself by plasma fire. The galaxy trembled. It was no longer about vengeance, no longer about justice. It was about survival. Empires that once mocked humanity now begged for peace. Some secretly sent messages to Mars, offering alliances, trade, and even weapons. But humanity did not answer. Not yet. Their silence was louder than any words. Back in the council chambers on Mars, Admiral Ward smiled, though her eyes were cold. "The tide has turned," she whispered. "They wanted us weak. Now they are weak. They wanted us erased. Now they erase themselves." General Kane only growled, his hand gripping the edge of the table. "Not enough. Not until the empire of Xenar is ash." And so humanity prepared for the next step. The final war was not here yet, but the galaxy knew it was coming. Every world watched the skies, waiting for shadows to fall. Every leader looked over their shoulder, wondering if tomorrow it would be their turn. The Ghost Fleet was no longer a whisper. It was a storm, and storms only grow stronger. The part closes with a scene deep in Xenar's capital. Their emperor, once proud, sat in darkness. On his desk lay a simple human message, hacked into his private channel, 3 words only, glowing in red. "We are coming." The galaxy could no longer pretend. What began as whispers of vengeance had grown into fire that consumed fleets, trade routes, and worlds. Every empire watched as Xenar fell piece by piece, and they all understood one truth. Humanity was no longer just another race among the stars. Humanity was war itself. The Emperor of Xenar, broken but not yet finished, made his final gamble. He called every ally, every vassal, every mercenary fleet. From hundreds of systems they came, ships blotting out the stars. It became the largest armada in galactic history, a wall of fire and steel meant to end humanity once and for all. On Mars, the Human War Council watched the reports. Even General Kane's hard face grew grim. "They bring everything," he said, "and they believe numbers will save them." Admiral Celine Ward only leaned closer to the table, her eyes sharp. "Then we show them that numbers mean nothing against shadows and fire." The Ghost Fleet gathered in silence. Not thousands, not millions, but enough. Enough to strike, enough to kill, enough to burn. On the Iron Dawn, Captain Elias Drake stood before his crew. His voice was calm, but every word carried iron. The galaxy thinks this is their final battle, but it will be ours. We do not fight to survive. We fight to end this. When the two armadas met, the void itself seemed to scream. Xanar's fleet stretched across entire sectors, a wall of flashing shields and roaring engines. The Ghost Fleet emerged like predators from the dark. They did not roar, they did not announce, they struck. The first wave of human drones slipped past enemy sensors, invisible, silent, and merciless. They tore through engines, cut power grids, blinded sensors. Entire squadrons drifted helplessly before the main assault even began. Then came the rail cannons, massive guns that fired slugs at near-light speed. Alien warships split apart like paper, their hulls shredded, their cores exploding, the void filled with fire, and still the Ghost Fleet pressed forward. Xanar's admirals screamed orders, their fleets swarmed, their numbers overwhelming. Human ships were outnumbered 10-1, but numbers meant nothing. Every human strike was precise, every attack deadly. It was not battle, it was slaughter. On Arcanus Prime, citizens watched from the ground as their skies burned again. This time it was not fireworks, it was fire from a war the galaxy would never forget. In the middle of chaos, Captain Drake stood calm. "Push forward," he ordered. The Iron Dawn led the charge, its cannons roaring, its shields blazing. Alien dreadnoughts fell before it, each one collapsing into silence. But still the enemy fought. They had numbers, they had pride, they had desperation, and desperation made them dangerous. The Ghost Fleet began to take damage, ships vanishing in fire, crews lost to the void for the Phi. This time, humanity bled in open battle. Admiral Ward's voice crackled across every human ship. "Do not falter, do not retreat. Every drop of our blood demands 100 of theirs. Hold the line, break the Empire." And then came humanity's hidden weapons. From the shadows, ships older than any alien empire revealed themselves. Planet crackers, weapons designed not for war but for extinction. They fired once, and a Xanar moon shattered, breaking into pieces that lit the void like burning stars. The galaxy gasped, the battle shifted, and the armada of Xanar broke. Fleets scattered, generals screamed in panic. What was once order became chaos. Ships collided, commanders fled, and the Ghost Fleet moved through them like wolves through sheep. On the ground of Xanar's capital, the Emperor watched the sky. His proud fleets burned above his head, his empire crumbled before his eyes. He screamed at his gods, his ancestors, his generals. But none answered, only fire, only silence. Back on Mars, the Council received the final transmission from Iron Dawn. Captain Drake's voice was steady, unshaken. "The enemy armada is broken. Their empire burns. The tide is ours. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not forgive." Across the galaxy, leaders trembled. Some sent desperate pleas for peace. Some began preparing for war. But all knew one truth. The humans had turned the greatest fleet in history into wreckage, and now nothing could stop them. The part closes on a chilling vision. In the ruins of the Xanar Palace, the Emperor sat alone. On his throne lay a datapad, glowing with a hacked human message. "This is not the end," it read. "This is the beginning of your extinction." The greatest fleet in galactic history lay broken. The Empire of Xanar, once proud and feared, had been shattered in open battle, but humanity did not stop. Vengeance was not complete until the assassin. His hand, the true architect, was brought into the light. On Mars, the Human War Council sat in silence. Before them glowed a single report, encrypted and delivered by the Ghost Fleet's shadow agents. The assassination of Earth's leader was not simply Xanar's act of arrogance. It was the personal command of their emperor, a man who had believed killing one human would stop an entire race. Now he sat in his capital palace, surrounded by ruins, his fleets gone, his allies silent, his empire burning, and humanity was coming for him. On the Iron Dawn, Captain Elias Drake prepared his crew. "This is the end," he said, his voice hard as iron. "We do not fight for glory. We do not fight for conquest. We fight for vengeance, and we fight for the future of Earth." His crew answered as one, their voices heavy with rage and pride. Vengeance. The Ghost Fleet surged into Xanar's capital system, no longer in shadows, no longer in whispers, but in full force. The sky filled with human warships, black as night, their cannons already burning. Xanar's last defenses, shattered remnants of once proud fleets, scrambled desperately. They fought, they screamed, they died. One by one, they fell until the capital world stood alone, its skies burning red. On the planet's surface, the Emperor raged in his throne room. He had once commanded 1,000 worlds, and now he commanded silence. His guards trembled, his generals refused to meet his eyes. Outside, the people cried as the sky burned. The vengeance of Earth had come. The ghost fleet landed with fire, towers crumbled, defenses shattered, resistance ended before it began. Soldiers of Earth marched through the capital streets, their black armor reflecting the fire above. They came not as conquerors, but as executioners. Every step was a message, every strike a reminder. This was justice, sharpened into vengeance. At last, the throne room doors shattered. Captain Drake stepped through, his soldiers behind him. The Emperor rose, his voice shaking with anger and fear. "You dare, human, you dare enter the heart of Xanar?" Drake's return. Epley was calm, his words colder than steel. "You dared first when you murdered our leader, and now you pay the price." The Emperor drew a blade of plasma, desperate to fight, desperate to cling to pride. But it was useless. With one strike, he fell, his empire falling with him. And in that moment, silence filled the hall. Not the silence of peace, but the silence of an ending. Back on Mars, the Council received the transmission. The Emperor of Xanar was dead. The assassins were gone, the Empire destroyed, the vengeance complete. But a question remained. What would humanity do now with the galaxy watching in terror? General Kane demanded fire, demanded extermination. "Burn the rest, erase them. Let the galaxy fear us forever," he roared. But Admiral Ward raised her hand, her voice calm and sharp. "No, let them live with their fear. Vengeance has been served. Now we give them one chance, one warning. If they cross Earth again, there will be no survivors." The Council agreed. The galaxy would not be exterminated, but it would be warned. And so a message was sent, not just to Xanar, but to every empire, every station, every world. It was broadcast in 1,000 tongues, echoing across the stars. This was vengeance, not conquest. Our leader was taken, and so we answered. Let this be the last time any hand is raised against Earth, for next time there will be no mercy. The message burned through every screen, every world, every heart. Aliens trembled, rulers swore never to test humans again, and even those who had mocked Earth in the past now whispered in fear, for they had seen what happened when humans were pushed too far. On the Iron Dawn, Captain Drake stood at the observation deck. The ruins of Xanar's capital glowed below, smoke rising into the void. His crew stood beside him, silent, their eyes fixed on the fire. He whispered a final word, not for the galaxy, but for Earth justice. And as the ghost fleet turned and vanished into the stars, the galaxy knew it had changed forever. Humanity was no longer a newcomer, no longer the young race to be mocked. Humanity was a storm, a fire, a vengeance that could never be contained. The assassination that was meant to kill their future had instead given birth to their rise. And from that day forward, the galaxy would live with one truth carved into its bones: never spill human blood.